How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian. And it's Thursday here on the show, and you know what that means? We got a lot to talk about today. Lance Storm is going to be joining us on the show. Normally he would be here Friday, but Friday is the 4th of July. So there will not be a live show on Sports Byline. So we'll talk about everything today, and there is a lot. We've got the Dynamite 300 show from Wednesday night, which overall I thought was a great show. Couple of things I didn't think were great, but in general, a lot of great wrestling. I think they're doing a great job building up All In, and we have got new stipulations and clarifications for All In Texas, which is July 12th. So we'll say about that here today. We got some news. Got updates on Jeff Hardy and Jim Ross and some ratings and some other stuff as well. And we will have time today to do a Q&A with Lance. If you have questions for Lance, you're welcome to text them to me, 425-780-7566. I'm still recovering. I'm going to see how long I can go without gimmicks today. But, I don't know. I just started talking, and anyway. If you want to text us, 425-780-7566. That is 425-780-7566. You can also email me, f4wonline@gmail.com. I'm F4W Online Threads, Instagram, and Cameo, at Bryan Alvarez on X and Blue Sky. So again, 425-780-7566. Text the questions to Lance or myself at that number, or send them to f4wonline@gmail.com. If you're in the Twitch chat, we can take some questions there as well. But we'll get as much as we can out today. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful.
I am going to channel the well-known, infamous roast of Bryan and Lance.
Oh my God.
I vaguely remember this.
Lance was a champion in virtually every company he has appeared in. While he did hold the distinction of holding 3 titles, that angle fizzled out faster than his podcast, Killing the Town.
Wow. I now remember this utter disaster of a roast.
Let's get Lance a chair to sit in. And as we do, could we also bring someone up here to show him how to use it? I remember that chair shot. I don't remember who it was on, but
utter silence that this roast was met with.
Tom, at least I was smart enough not to do those chair shots again.
Bryan, besides me, there are others who I'm sure dislike you, like Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff, but I think you're great. Like a guiding light or a father, which is why I'm not surprised when you screw me every week. The best-selling author of The Death of WCW. He had just completed his new book, for which actually Lance Storm wrote the foreword, which is 3 more than most wrestling fans know.
Hideous. Atrocious.
It must be hard when you look so young. If I didn't know better, I'd say you had your grandma's jeans. But actually, if the camera panned down, I bet Lance is wearing them. Anyways, let's start the show. Carmelo went for the La Mystica. Andrade went for the Message.
It's actually not the La Mystica. It starts like a La Mystica, but the La Mystica is actually a submission, and he doesn't land in the submission. He just does the whole slam part and then jumps up.
Yeah, the La Mystica is a tilt-a-whirl head scissor into a Fujiwara armbar.
Into a Fujiwara armbar. The La Mystica is not the submission. Do not tell me
I didn't say that was a submission. I said the La Mystica involves the tilt-a-whirl facebuster into the submission. The whole thing. Why are you so angry?
Well, you just changed what you said and lied, right?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't land in a submission. He just slams them. So it's not a La Mystica.
I believe that's the actual move.
Okay,
but
whatever, who cares?
I just hope Editor Sean pulls up the exact clip of you saying, La Mystica's a submission, and then denying it afterwards.
A Lemistic is actually a submission. I didn't say that was a submission.
Lemistic is actually a submission? I didn't say that was a submission.
Editor Sean.
Back here in the show. Bryan Alvarez here. Wrestling Observer Live. Lance Storm is joining us here today. And still drug-free as of today. We'll see how it goes. I'm still recovering from, children. Anyway, got a lot to get into. Lance, what's on Impact tonight?
What is on Impact tonight? Boy, I'm blanking, and I just watched.
Oh, man.
I just watched the show yesterday.
You kidding me?
There's a tag team match with the Inspiration against Tessa Blanchard and Victoria Crawford. There is Nick Nemeth versus Zach of the Rascals, Zachary Wentz. And there is a Eddie Edwards-Matt Cardona match. And
think, Lance, think.
Yes, and there's one other that I actually...
Masha Slamovich against Killer Kelly in a chain match for the Knockouts.
Yes.
Knockouts titles on the line.
Yeah, that's actually a really good one.
Inspiration versus Tess and Victoria. Nick Nemeth and Trey Miguel. Jake Something and Mance Warner. And Matt Cardona and Eddie Edwards.
Yeah, it's Zachary Wentz, not Trey.
That's not what it says here.
Well, that's incorrect.
It says Nick Nemeth and Trey Miguel.
That was the original plan, but that is not the match that happened and is not the match that airs.
Oh, man. Well, we better get that fix there on the front page.
It's Zachary Wentz.
We'll find out tonight, Lance. All right.
I produced the match. Trust me.
Hey, I got to say, congratulations, Jeff Hardy. 3 years sober today. I know some people will say, I don't know what people are going to say, but the fact of the matter is, when things like this happen, all you can do is your best, and he's tried for 3 straight years now. So, good for him. 3 years sober. Hopefully, he can stick with it for the rest of his life.
And I liked the clip of the interview I saw where, again, he takes full responsibility for things not going well in AEW with him and takes full responsibility for the times he wasn't at his best, and he's doing a heck of a job giving us his best now. So
3 years and 2 days.
Congratulations.
I guess official. All right, Smackdown. What am I talking about? NXT on Tuesday. NXT didn't do all that well. 627,000 viewers and a .15. It was actually the lowest total audience the show has drawn since last year, December 31st. And the 18 to 49, it was all right. Low since May 20th. The show was taped. And, sometimes people will say, well, it had to have been a taped show or whatever. I actually didn't figure out the show was taped until about halfway through. I suddenly remembered. And I remembered because, I don't know, it was like, I all of a sudden remembered they were getting the week off for 4th of July. And then it kind of hit me, golly, I didn't even hear anything about, I didn't hear any spoilers for this NXT show. I was all up in arms last week because they were doing that match with Jasper Troy and Inamura with the title shot on the line, which I thought was just such stupid booking, didn't make any sense. And as it turned out, I was complaining for nothing because Inamura won. And he'll be getting the title shot. But yeah, I didn't hear any spoilers for that show.
When did they tape it?
I guess they taped it after the show last week.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, which is even more amazing. In fact, I know because, I was talking about what a great crowd it was. And in that great crowd, they were there for the second set of tapings. They did the first show live, and then they taped 2 more hours, and the crowd was with it the whole time. So good for that crowd. They stuck with it for 4 straight hours.
And we went a whole week without spoilers getting out. Nice.
Well, I don't know if it's that or just nobody cared. It's kind of bizarre when I really think about it. Jim Ross will be heading to All In Texas. He says he feels pretty damn good. Those are his exact words now that the cancer is gone. He's going to be a guest at StarCast, and he will be heading in there Thursday or Friday, and he must be feeling good because that's just a week away. So best to him as well.
Yep.
And then the only other real news is there is no news on Britt Baker. Apparently this was a story today just because we talked about it yesterday. There's nothing new on Britt Baker, everybody. She's not leaving. She's not returning. Whatever the situation has been for the last, I don't even know how long, nothing has changed. It appears every couple of weeks there's some new story about how she's leaving or this or that. But I was told nothing has changed. And it's all Coachman's fault, I think, because Coachman had a big story about how she was heading to, I don't even know what he had. He had some big story that was like completely untrue. And I guess because it's Coachman, like people ran with it. And I don't know why. It's like Coachman. And then the one yesterday, I mean, I don't want to, no offense to anybody, but the story yesterday, I got to find out what outlet it was in.
The
Wrestle Mobs.
The WWE has big interest.
Like, no offense or anything, but Wrestle Mobs? That's the source of this story? Anyway, nothing has changed. So that's the latest on that. And I mean, if she were coming back, I mean, yesterday was the day to do it. It's Dynamite 300. I mean, that'd be the time. And her contract doesn't come due for a long time. And she did have time out with injury, so my presumption is they're just going to extend it.
Well, they don't have to extend it, though.
They don't have to. But, I mean, if they didn't care about her leaving, I mean, I think she'd be gone by now. Obviously, they don't want her to leave. So that
Tony tends not to cut deals, though. He tends to let them expire, does he not?
He does, but there have been people that he has let go. I mean, what's his name? Ricky Starks, he was let go. And there was another one as well. Who was it?
She hasn't asked.
I mean, maybe not, but Coach is going to bury Bryan on his show. Coach does a show with Russo.
Oh, my God.
All right.
I think you'll survive, brother.
Collision tomorrow. Actually, Saturday, I'm sorry. Collision Saturday. This is the non-spoiler lineup. We've got FTR versus the Outrunners. We have Kyle Fletcher and Daniel Garcia, number one contenders match for the TNT title. The winner will face Adam Cole. We have an all-star 8-woman, Athena, Megan Bayne, Julia, and Tekla versus Thunder Rosa, Anna Jay, Ty Mello, and Queen Aminata. We have, this is very similar. If you've been watching a lot of Collision lately, they do matches that are almost exactly the same over and over again. And a couple of weeks ago when I was in Kent, I saw almost this exact same match. And the other one they're doing is some combination of Paragon, FTR. Like, they've done that combination like 3 or 4 times. We got Max Caster's Open Challenge. We have got Willow Nightingale versus Vipress, who is not Piper Niven. We have Mark Briscoe, Hologram, and Mystico versus Hechicero, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta. Which, this is not a spoiler because I don't think you're actually going to see it on the show. But apparently after this match, Mystico's a big star. And, in the ring, like, they just kept playing his music because he wouldn't leave. And I guess they played his music like 4 times. And he's out there and he's kissing the mat and he's just like doing all this and that. And finally, like, Tony starts coming through the tunnel. And he finally left. And then, of course, Tony gave him the big hug. But apparently 4 times they went through that music. Kevin Knight, Shelton Benjamin, and for reasons unknown, I cannot explain this to you, Nick Wayne is also in the match. I mean, the reason is because it's probably going to be a three-way for the tag titles coming up at All In. But, like, they very specifically on Dynamite, Kevin Knight challenged Shelton Benjamin to a, quote, one-on-one match. And as it turns out, it's not one-on-one. So anyway, that's that. When we come back, we're going to do questions for Lance and I. And then we will get into the Dynamite report in the final segment of the show. Text your questions to 425-780-7566 or send them to f4wonline@gmail.com. Back in a moment. Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. We got a big Elimination Chamber report here. And also Collision from Saturday, which actually was a pretty damn good show in its own right.
I was not told to watch Collision.
Vinny?
I forgot to text him Thursday night. I figured he'd be in bed. I said I'd do it tomorrow. And then Friday I bought a car. I was busy, and I've been forgotten. John comes out, looks into the camera, and says, "There's a vibe in here tonight."
Sure is.
I'll say. Punk's eyes are bugging out of his head. Seth is still there screaming, "Die, die!" And Seth gets his way. Punk dies. John Cena wins. I thought the finish of this was incredible. Great stuff.
God, Travis Scott. Jesus God almighty. This was exactly like when Hogan used to come to the ring, Dennis Rodman trailing him, and Dennis Rodman was like on another planet. He had no idea where he was at, stumbling to the ring. You basically have to drag him down there. This Travis Scott was on another planet, dude.
Well, the first time he was on the show was on that Raw show. He was smoking a blunt in the audience.
They go from the hug to a shot of Cena's angry heel face, and they cut right to Rock On. And then he kicks him right in the balls. And the crowd freaked out. The John Cena turned heel. Hulk Hogan, he was getting booed before he turned. It was a risk, but, they were getting sick of the guy anyway. The problem with Steve Austin was he was the top babyface, and there was nobody to replace him when he turned. John Cena's been gone forever. He comes back. It's not like he was going to be the top babyface. They got 50 babyfaces. Cody's the biggest babyface they got. There's no risk whatsoever turning John Cena heel. He's 10 times more interesting now. The Cena and Cody feud is 1,000 times more interesting.
Travis hit Cody Rhodes in the face as hard as he could. I bet that sucked.
This was a big deal, and I didn't see it coming.
You guys need to listen to Observer Live on Friday.
No thanks.
Because some dude called in, all bombastic and outrageous.
Do y'all think that John Cena is going to be the one that turns heel and joins The Rock as his champion?
No chance. And I shot him down. I laughed at him.
Wow.
I said it's not going to happen. John Cena's here to sell tickets and merch as a babyface for his last year. He ain't turning heel.
They need to make shirts for John Cena that just say, "Can you see me now?"
I got to apologize to old Dwayne. I thought that guy was out of his mind. He got me. This is awesome. I cannot wait to see where they go here. Back here on the show, Bryan Alvarez here. Still going. Haven't broke down yet. It's actually feeling a little bit better. I can swallow without intense pain, which I haven't been able to do drug-free for a couple of days now, which sucks. Hey, somebody noted Miro, another guy that he let out of his contract. So he does it occasionally, but not always. All right, some questions. I sent out a... Is that your house? Is someone talking over there?
Nope.
What is that?
I don't know, Brian. I don't hear anything. Go on with the show.
I can't. There's someone in my house, and no one's supposed to be here. All right. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to go find out who's invaded my abode. This person here says, Lance, if they were to watch, go back and watch one ECW show that is lesser known, what show would that be? I'll be right back.
Oh, good gravy. That's lesser known. Do you have any idea how long ago ECW was? The one that, again, it's not a lesser known one, but the one that fans seem to really love and gravitate towards being a great show is Heatwave 98. That was the one that had Robin Sabu against Shinsuke Sasaki and Hayabusa. That was the famed Chris Candido Lance Storm match where I took the ungodly powerbomb off the top rope where my head bounced like a basketball. That's the one that always stands out to me as a favorite in ECW, but it's not a lesser known one. I'm not sure which other ones I would recommend specifically, especially as lesser known.
Hey, take off your headphones. It's definitely your house.
All right, I will text my child and ask about a TV perhaps playing.
This person says, Brian, please tell me you and Vinny will receive an episode of the Coach and Russo podcast. I don't know about that one. We'll see. This person here says, if they do a three-way at the show, do you think that's how they get the belts off of the Hurt Syndicate? Well, listen, I've been watching this show for a while now, this AEW show, and I'd bet you dollars to donuts that Hurt Syndicate is not losing those belts in the middle of the ring. I think that there's going to be some sort of multi-person match, and they lose the titles without getting beat. I would be happy to be proved wrong.
I hope not. We mentioned this yesterday when you speculated about the Trick Williams, Joe Hendry, Mike Santana match at Slammiversary in New York in 2 weeks. I think champions need to get pinned to lose titles. I despise booking crutches to avoid pinning champions and crowning what I view as undeserving champions. I go back to to be the man, you got to beat the man. So if you're going to beat the team to be the team, then I think you should beat the Hurt Syndicate if you're going to take the belts off them.
Well, I don't disagree at all, but that whole to be the man, you have to beat the man
was a long time ago.
Well, not just that, but you know who that was, right?
It was Ric Flair.
You ever seen Ric Flair wrestle?
Once or twice.
You ever seen Ric Flair do a promo? Okay, listen. Whatever you guys want to say about Ric Flair as a person, whatever you want to say about Richard Flair, that's beside the point that I'm getting to here. Ric Flair, the wrestler, was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and he was one of the greatest promos of all time. Because whatever you want to say about him, as a wrestler, he knew how to do this thing, okay? So, in the ring, he understood that you need to get your opponent over so that when you beat them, you have beaten somebody, okay? Now, there's a difference between that and like, well, you know, I'm gonna give him the whole entire match so I look like a geek. You know, he would eke his way out, but it was a different business back then. The idea was you were paying money thinking, well, this person for sure is going to be able to beat Flair in the end. And, of course, they never could. And in his promos, he always knew, well, you don't just absolutely bury. Like, that's one of the things about Mariah May's promos. I hated Mariah May promos because her promos were 100% burying her opponent and burying the division. And listen, yes, you can talk trash to your opponent. Yes, you can say that you think you're better than your opponent and you're going to beat them. But you also have to cut a promo and put over your opponent. Make your opponent somebody that's like, my God, I actually beat this person. As opposed to, you know, you're absolutely nothing, you're a geek, you're a loser. Well, if you beat them, you beat a loser. And if they beat you, you just got beat by a loser. What good does that do? So I bring that up because this Hurt Syndicate thing on Dynamite last night, oh my God, this is the worst build to a championship match I have seen in any promotion in years. I don't care what you think about WWE. I don't care if you like Paul Levesque or the booking. Nothing has been as bad as this. that angle where out come Jet Speed. Hurt Syndicate's in the ring. They're doing a promo or whatever. And out come Jet Speed. And it might have been the other way around. But the point is, Hurt Business beat them in a fair fight. They just beat the absolute stuffing out of these guys. They leave them for dead. These guys cut a promo and say, we're not dead yet. So the Hurt Business gets back in the ring. They beat them half to death a frickin' second time. They beat them so bad that when they leave, by the way, Jet Speed are the baby faces, guys. Hurt Syndicate are the heels. They leave and the fans start chanting one more time. Jet Speed challenges them for a third time. They get beaten to death for the third time. Hurt Syndicate leaves. They ask for it a fourth time. At that point, it's like, no, just stop. And then Kevin demands, and here's the other thing, it's not even just what they did. Kevin then demands a match with Shelton one-on-one. At which point the announcers go, this guy's out of his mind. So now the announcers are telling me, so I've seen it with my own eyes, that these guys are complete and total geeks and losers. And then the announcers tell me they have no chance. They are geeks and losers. What are we doing here? So now we go to the pay-per-view. Let's just say that we don't make it a three-way or whatever. We're going to the pay-per-view. So, okay. First off, it's a championship team versus two absolute geeks. How could I possibly care? Hurt Syndicate beats them. Who cares? If they actually beat the Hurt Syndicate, well, you've just buried your tag team titles because they're on two complete geeks. Hurt Syndicate lost to two geeks. I like these guys, okay? Like, I'm big fans of Jet Speed, but they have made them absolute, complete, total geeks. I hated that segment. God!
I think there's a lot, and I dislike it too. There is we book now on a meta sense, I think, unfortunately, where there's been the pattern of the team left standing and strong before the pay-per-view is the team that loses at the pay-per-view, because there is that 50, we got to make everybody happy, so you guys get to stand tall now. And then where in the old days you just always built the challengers up, the baby faces in particular, going into the show, so you felt like, wow, these guys are definitely going to win, they're the better team. But now it's that double fake where it's like, well, if we beat them down here, people will think they're going to win at the pay-per-view because we wouldn't beat them down in both segments. And I think it's not good when you book in a meta sense rather than a kayfabe sense. And I think it's better to make your challengers look strong going into the pay-per-view.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Now that I got that out of my system. Let's see. Do you think wrestlers should win with secondary moves 10% of the time? I believe live fans are just playing along with the count. For the Blue Thunder Bomb, for example. Yes, absolutely. I mean, you should every now and then win with an unusual move so that fans start to buy the idea that any big move during the near falls could potentially be a finish.
Yeah, I'm not going to go with necessarily your 10% thing.
Well, sure, just every now and then.
Santana does this. He, every once in a while, will win with a power bomb rather than his spin the block. And when it happens, I always think it's a good idea to remind fans and keep them honest that sometimes you can win with something else. This was actually, if you go back to, Anarchy Rules. I pinned Jerry Lynn with a knee to his injured ribs and a three-quarter Nelson. And part of the reasoning behind that was, let's keep fans honest. You can win at any time, which I remember too, because Dave buried the finish, saying that fans expect finishers as a finish. And then I was on, I don't know, a Yada or a radio show with you guys like 2 weeks later, and Dave complained that people need to win out of the blue with something different for a change. It's too predictable. And I called him on it and said, didn't you bury my match for that just 2 weeks ago? You can't have it both ways, Dave.
Lance ain't taking no guff.
Nope.
Yeah, I do think every now and then, not only should you win with a different finish, but like if somebody is going into a match with bad ribs, then maybe not a bear hug, but like you should beat them with something involving their ribs. That way, in the future, when people go in with injuries, you think that, in fact, that might play... Because nowadays, like, you go in with an injury, and, 90% of the time you make a big comeback like nothing's wrong, just so people can see your big moves, and then it's just whatever the finish is. So, I like things being meaningful, Back in a moment, Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Chat GPT, Smackdown review starring Filthy Tom and Bryan Alvarez.
Welcome back, you miserable wretches, to another disaster of an episode of Figure 4 Daily, the only show on the internet that's guaranteed to make your brain rot faster than watching one of these Smackdown episodes. I'm your host, Filthy Tom Waller, joined by the man who somehow manages to be more useless than a rubber knife in a prison fight, Bryan Alvarez. What's up, Bryan?
Let's not pretend you're the shining star of this operation. You're like a broken pencil. Pointless. And I don't even know I'm still here with you. Anyway, let's get to this train wreck of a Smackdown. Spoiler alert, if you were expecting a wrestling show, you've come to the wrong place. It was like watching someone fall asleep in real time.
You should know all about falling asleep, Bryan, since you've been half dead for years now. If enthusiasm was an Olympic sport, you would get a participation medal for showing up, but still lose.
I could tell the crowd was hyped for Drew, and Nakamura's music is always a banger, but it was just nothing. It's like watching a 5-minute commercial for a product you don't even want to buy.
And I bet the only thing that was more uninspiring than this match was your entire existence. Let's move on before I fall asleep right here on this microphone.
Tom, you think because you're a former fighter, that makes you a wrestling expert? You'd probably lose in a match with a traffic cone. Look, Jade's a star, but Liv Morgan, she's the human version of a please wait screen.
Liv Morgan is about as useful as a sandbag at a swimming pool party, who's like trying to make a turkey sandwich with no bread.
It's like the crowd went from yay to who's got the remote. Can we change the channel?
Liv Morgan's biggest move is making the audience wish for better things. She's like the human version of a wet sock. Nobody wants it.
I get it, Tom. You don't like fun. You don't like energy. You don't like anything that's not just sitting on your couch in your pajamas complaining.
More of the same.
Oh, we're back to more of the same, huh? Just like your wrestling career. More of the same, but somehow still a disaster.
Well, that's it, folks. SmackDown 2025 was more like SmackDown 2005. Same old stuff, same old disappointments. Join us next time when we tear apart something else for your listening pleasure.
Yeah, next time, Tom, maybe you'll actually have some real wrestling to talk about instead of whatever disaster this was. Until then, just remember, don't listen to Tom and don't watch SmackDown unless you hate yourself.
Whatever. It's your funeral.
What? I've never been so embarrassed doing this show as I was for the last 5 minutes. God. Dynamite 300. I had 3 qualms with this show. Otherwise, I thought it was pretty freaking great, actually. My first qualm was that segment, which we hopefully don't have to talk about again, with the Hurt Syndicate. My second qualm was that the return of Kenny Omega was in a wacky skit backstage when he was wearing a cape. Which I realize they have to make money, and WBD made this deal with Superman. But my God. Number one, you couldn't have brought him back the week before? You couldn't have had someone else put a cape on? I mean, it was preposterous. It's absolutely preposterous. He's back there in a cape. He's in a cape. It's just like, he goes, I feel like I'm flying. I'm like, what am I watching? And then 20 minutes later, he makes his big triumphant return after almost being killed. And Excalibur goes, "This is the first time we've seen him since he was almost killed." I thought, no, that's absolutely not true. I saw him 20 minutes ago in a cape. So I didn't like that.
Well, he needs to be a superhero just to come back from the injuries that he suffered.
And then the other thing was I believe they should have done so much more with the fact that this was the 300th episode of Dynamite. I mean, golly, you got 6 years worth of footage and great moments and, nothing. I mean, nothing. You wouldn't have even known this was Dynamite 300 if they hadn't said the words Dynamite 300. But, other than that, I thought they did a great job with the build to All In, and a lot of great wrestling. Opened up with Hangman coming down to the ring, and long story short, he challenges Moxley to a Texas death match, and Moxley accepts. After, there's a lot of rigmarole here. Basically, Moxley says no, but then Hangman ends up confiscating the briefcase. And I think he's supposed to say that I won't give the briefcase back unless you accept, but he forgot to say that. So Moxley accepts anyway, and then Hangman ends up laying out Marina with the buckshot lariat. And so it is a Texas death match at the pay-per-view. And I don't know.
Did they mention that they've had one of these
no,
before?
Absolutely, positively not. And it's funny because, last night Dave was going on and on about how they didn't tell you what the rules were for the Texas death match. And, there is that. Those sickos don't like to hear criticism of AEW. And so they got really mad at Dave. Like, you should know. They've had, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, everybody knows. Okay, that's fine if that's your argument. They don't need to tell you the rules because everybody is supposed to know the rules. Well, at the same time, if that's the case, everybody should know that these two guys have had a Texas death match, and Hangman beat him in the Texas death match. They clearly don't want you to remember that because they made no mention of it whatsoever. It's like top secret. The whole thing was about there's no way Hangman can actually beat Moxley in a Texas death match. That's what Moxley's trying to tell him. But meanwhile, they actually did a match and Hangman won. So at some point, they do need to tell you what the rules are for the Texas death match. Just want to throw that out there. But I didn't think it was a big deal. We don't know tonight. There's plenty of time. A week. Then we had Mercedes and Mina Shirakawa, TBS title. And I thought this was a great match. The finish was Mina going for the figure four. Mercedes small packaged her and pinned her. The match had great heat. I thought for the most part they worked really well together. More in the second half than the first. The first half there were a couple of hiccups here and there, but outside of the ring was Tony, and she was just catatonic the entire time. But the gimmick is like because of her gimmick, it almost came off like comedy. That she was doing that, like it was part of her act. So that was kind of weird. But she hit the ring afterwards to make the save after Mercedes attacked Mina. And then Mercedes grabbed a cake at ringside. I thought for sure she was going to put it in the face of Mina and Tony. But she didn't. Nor did she put it in Luther's face. That was sad.
I'd have been much happier if she did put it in Luther's face.
Yeah, he deserved it. We had his... This is another weird one. There's actually a lot of weird stuff on this show now that I think about it. We had a skit with the Young Bucks. They just bought a brand new limo, and they were going to drive around their hometown. And like as soon as the skit starts, you're like, all right, well, man, who's going to destroy that limo? Who's going to do... Nothing. They just drove around, and then that was it. That was the whole skit. I was like, all right. Seemed like a missed opportunity. MJF, I guess maybe it could continue on Collision. Maybe they'll have maybe they'll have their limo destroyed on Collision. MJF, Brody King, AR Fox, Anthony Bowens to determine number 2 in the gauntlet. Silly me thinking maybe somebody else could win because it doesn't matter. It's just for a number 2 spot in the gauntlet. MJF won. He's number 2 in the gauntlet. He submitted AR Fox. It was like they had an opportunity to do something you didn't expect in a match like this. But in the end, they actually did exactly what you would expect. The biggest star won, and he beat the biggest jobber. That's what happened.
Well, I think you want to be able to advertise MJF on a big show in Texas, especially with his current heat as a heel against the Hispanic market, where with the gauntlet, only the first 2 people can you actually advertise for sure as being involved.
That's true, but I think, I don't know. Well, he won. And then afterwards, they did that segment with Jet Speed. I will not recap that a second time. Then we had the Young Bucks and Takeshita versus Paragon and Bandito, which was another great match. Now, this crowd was going wild for the spots in this match. And in the end, everybody triple-teamed poor Kyle. He ate a BTE trigger, a triple BTE trigger. Takeshita ends up hitting with a Raging Fire, gets the pin. And afterwards, they shot an angle where Ospreay and Swerve had challenged the Young Bucks to put the EVP titles on the line at the pay-per-view. And we had asked, well, first off, what the hell does that mean? And second off, why would the EVPs just say yes? So they clarified this week. The EVP titles are on the line in the sense that if the Bucks lose, they will be stripped of their titles, they will have no power, and the power will go to the people. And also Tony Khan.
People power? That's not a good thing to go.
Well, they didn't say people power, thankfully. But the Bucks are like, well, you know, we're not going to... What's in it for us? And so Ospreay comes up with an idea. And that is, if you accept this match with our stips, we will agree that if you beat us, neither of us can challenge for the world title for 1 year. And so the Bucks accept. And I'll talk about this a lot more tonight. But Dave did not like this one bit because he did not like the idea of Will Ospreay not challenging for the title for a full year. And long story short, I'm going to say this, okay? If this is an issue, then Will Ospreay should have just won the Owen and he should win the title at All In. I advocated for Hangman to win the Owen and to go to All In and to win the title. And to me, there should be no issue coming up with 1 year of title defenses for Hangman, feuds, right? I mean, it's Hangman Page. He's supposed to be the guy that's going to save the company, save the title for Jon Moxley, be your top babyface. You should easily have a year's worth. They have, how many people do they have on the roster? Like 200? You should, and a feud shouldn't just be one and done on pay-per-view. You can, some feuds can go 2 or 3 pay-per-views. You should have no problem building one solitary year of around Hangman Page, and then going back to Will Ospreay. And by then, Will Ospreay can challenge at Wembley, and away you go. I don't see this as being a problem at all to keep Ospreay and Swerve out of the title picture for a year. Especially because when this match was over, all I could think was, dude, these 2 blokes need to beat somebody for these tag team titles. And think of all of the incredible tag team feuds you could do with Will Ospreay and Swerve as world tag team champions. Once the belts are no longer held hostage by the Hurt Syndicate, you know how many awesome tag teams you have? Enough awesome tag teams, by the way, that, like, as some people noted, these guys are big enough stars, and you got big enough stars in the tag division, like, you could headline pay-per-views with tag team title matches with these guys on top. So I don't see this as a problem at all.
Has there ever been a double stip match where there's nothing in it for the winners? Like if Hangman or if Swerve and Ospreay win, they don't get anything. If the Bucks win, they don't get anything. There's just a punishment for the losers.
Yes, that's correct.
That's odd.
It is, but like in storyline, what Ospreay and Swerve get out of it is the Bucks can no longer screw with them using their EVP powers. So that's what's in it for them.
But why do the Bucks care if they can't be in the singles picture?
Just to screw with them.
Alrighty then.
And they're trying to claim that they're doing all of this for Hangman. And so this would take 2 challengers out of Hangman's potential pool of challengers. Swerve and Ospreay versus Dralistico and Beast Mortos. I mean, great match. This is, again, why Swerve and Ospreay should be the tag team champions. they gave, I mean, it's not like they made Dralistico and Beast look like better wrestlers, which sometimes happens in AEW. I mean, it was clear who the better wrestlers were when this was over. The better tag team was Swerve and Ospreay. But they still had a great match. They gave these two guys a lot, more than the Hurt Syndicate has given anybody ever, and it was a good match. And then the main event is Okada and Kota Ibushi. And, Okada, on the Okada scale, he gave it 7 tonight.
The current Okada scale.
Yeah. He gave it a 7. And Ibushi, this was his first AEW match. I guess he had the match with Trent, but that was more a showcase for him. As far as like a back-and-forth match, this was the first one in a long time. And he's been hurt, and he's been injured, and he's been, mentally and physically, he's had a rough go at it. But he came back here, and he looked good. He's not the old Ibushi. He's also about a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10 on the Ibushi scale. But, 2 7s, that was a pretty freaking great match with both of these guys at a 7. And Okada won with the Rainmaker. And then afterwards, he, they went to beat down Ibushi, and Kenny Omega made the somewhat dramatic save. Was not wearing the cape, which was too bad. But he ran wild, saved Ibushi. They hit a powerbomb German combo. And man, Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega versus Swerve and Will Ospreay for the tag team titles. That's one of like a dozen incredible matches you could do over the next year as you build up to the time limit expiring and Ospreay and Swerve being able to challenge again. So I thought this was a very good show. Liked it a lot. Anything I didn't mention?
Well, I didn't see the show, so I wouldn't know.
All right. You never know. I asked Filthy, and he's offended that I dare ask, did you see the show?
Well, I don't get TSN, so it's not even an option for me.
Well, guess so. 2 7s do not make a 14? Yeah, they do. Of course. 7 and 7 is... Why is everyone saying 7 and 7 isn't 14? What's 7 and 7?
14.
14. Guys, don't gaslight me and make me think I'm out of my mind. Golly, back in a moment, Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Warner Brothers Discovery announcement came out, and the gist of it is Dynamite and Collision are going to remain on Wednesday and Saturday. Rampage appears to be history, which we had thought. Dynamite and Collision is stream live on Max if you're a U.S. subscriber.
$555 million over 3 years, $185 million a year. Average $185 million a year. It starts lower. The middle year would probably be about that, and the third year would be up from that, and then the fourth year would be way up.
Big question for me is, are all the archives up? Or going to be up?
Can
I go back 5 years ago and watch all of the Dynamites in order?
I believe that they will be. Yeah, this won't be till January. I don't know that as a fact, but they're putting archival programming on, so there will be, I don't know if everything will be up, but there will be, I expect that everything will be up, yeah. I had a little announcement I wanted to make. A lot of people got really exposed, when this.
Oh, no, yeah, save that for the Garrett show. Save that one.
Why? You don't want any heat from these people who
Well,
deserve?
no, but I've heard it multiple times.
I've been sitting here playing punching bag for these clowns for years, and this was great. This was quite the week of vindication between that Vince McMahon documentary and this deal. Yes, for me, it was an even bigger vindication for Tony Khan. Not that it's even though they're completely different topics. The guy who spent 5 years with all these clowns calling him a money mark, and they went through a couple of years in money losses, which a lot of businesses do. And they could afford it, but the long-term goal was always to make this thing profitable. So at the end of the day, here we are, and with this deal, this is going to be the second most profitable pro wrestling company in the history of pro wrestling. And all of these people that, and it's like, I'm not saying you should have figured that much out, but in the last year, it kind of was leaning this way. And even if it wasn't going to be the second most profitable company in the history of pro wrestling, it would end up being profitable, which once you're profitable, the term money mark goes out the window. So anyway, this is like complete vindication. Jericho actually went on the show. I mean, it was almost like he was reading my mind with that line about, boy, did all these experts come off as being really stupid and out of touch. I don't know if he used those words, but they were. Because it's not like this came out of nowhere. We've been talking about this for months. I've been telling people. I've been telling them. I go like, you better frickin' pivot because you're going to look like fools if this deal comes in the way it looks it's going to come in. And none of them could stop. They're so deep into it. They've been lying to their podcast listeners for God knows how long. So anyway, there's a lot more to that. But anyway, I did want to get that off my chest.
Back here on the show, I made it the entire show with no drugs.
I do that all the time.
Nice to be drug-free every now and then, you know what I'm saying? All right. Any other text messages here in the last couple of minutes? Let's see. How about heel tag teams winning without the hot tag every now and then? Would it make hot tags mean more?
Oof, we did that in WWE, William Regal and I, on a couple occasions, and it makes for dead, horrible, rotten matches. You just get the heat and pin the guy in the heat. We did it to Tommy Dreamer like 2 or 3 weeks straight. It was horrible.
There's so many matches now that have the double heat that, I think you can always do at least a hot tag. You know, I don't mind like a hot tag, and then during the second heat you manage to pin the guy or whatever, because at least you got the hot tag in there. And then, you can convince people that maybe there won't be a hot tag the next time. But a match with only heat and then a win and no tag.
Go back and find them on Raw. They were horrible. Poor Tommy.
This guy says, hey, Brian, it's my birthday. Can I get a happy birthday, Brayden, on Observer Live? No, you may not. Sorry. This person wants to know what you think about working with Rosemary. You got about 10 seconds. How was it?
I like Rosemary.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Easy to work with?
Yep, been working with her for a long time now. 3 years with Impact. TNA.
Says, I became a fan during Decay versus the Hardys, and then her work with Allie/The Bunny. So big Rosemary fan there. All right, everybody, we got to wrap it up. Have an enjoyable holiday if you celebrate it. If not, have an enjoyable day. Back this weekend for subscribers, Wrestling Observer Radio and the Bryan and Vinny Show, and a Bryan and Vinny Show tonight, 8 Pacific, for our subscribers on YouTube. The show airs live. It'll be up as a recording for everybody else, so check it out. And that's it, everybody. Thanks, Lance, as always. Callers and listeners, everybody in the studio. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.